You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We have a special guest in the building. Now, our producer said your last name was Taco Pina, but I said that can't be right. It's actually Taco Pina.
That's
what
right.
is it?
They both sound the same to me, but what you just said was right,
Joseph Taco Pina. Well, welcome to the show.
There you go. Thanks, DJ Envy.
Now, you are Meek Mill's attorney.
Yes, one of them.
Now, what the hell is going on? What is going on with this judge? Give us the details. Give us the whole rundown.
Everybody thought he was getting out on Monday. That was the word on the street.
I don't know how that happened. That was one of those internet rumors that just, took on a life of its own. But we'd had no real optimism that he was getting out yesterday because we were before this judge. DJ Envy, it's hard to really tell you what is going on here because we really don't know. I mean, we have a team of lawyers, Jordan C., Brian McMonigal, myself, who have been involved in the practice collectively over 100 years. I was both a prosecutor, defense lawyer. I've never seen anything like this in my 25 years, ever. Nothing close to this. I mean, what happened yesterday was just a perfect example, and maybe the most egregious example of what's going on here. You have a situation where the district attorney, the prosecutor, who normally fights with the defense, agreed that Meek Mill's conviction from 2008 should be thrown out because of constitutional violations, because the cop who arrested him and beat him unconscious and lied about the facts of the case was on a list of cops who were dirty,
right,
or was on a list of cops who had committed perjury, who was on the FBI investigation. And that list was held, and this cop's name, Graham in particular, was hidden from Meek Mill's attorneys back in 2008.
Graham, right?
Reginald Graham.
Right.
And it's not just Meek. There's 80 other cases with this cop that he is, really caused destruction in the justice system and lied and put a lot of people in jail for things that they didn't do because he falsified documents. He lied on the witness stand. The district attorney agreed with us that Meek's underlying case needs to be dismissed. It needs to be thrown out.
Now, if that's dismissed, that would mean his probation that he caught up is automatically dropped.
Gone. Okay, and all the time he did in jail and all the, violations that this judge has hit him with would all be gone. He'd be on probation no longer. They would set it for a new trial date, but they would never bring this case to trial again. They would no-pros the case because they don't have a witness.
Right.
So anyway, what happens is the district attorney agreed with us yesterday. It was a watershed moment in this case. When you have the DA saying, we agree that, the case has to be dismissed. The conviction has to be overturned, so to speak. Now, what happened was mind-boggling.
Now,
so with that context, the judge then said, great, we'll have a hearing on June 18th in 60 more days. Now, understand this. Meek has been in jail for nearly 5 months over is this internet reaction? I could curse on him. A bullshit probation violation. Okay, and I mean that. I'm not trying to make light of it because it's really a horrific thing what happened to him. Here's a guy who had been an exemplary probationer, who'd been someone who'd made something of his life. He came from one of the most difficult upbringings you could imagine. He saw his father shot dead when he was 5 on the same street where the cops rolled up on him. And it was a situation where he'd been on probation for 10 years by a judge who was stalking him. Showed up at a homeless shelter where he was doing community service to personally monitor his community service. There's never been a judge in the history of American jurisprudence that's ever gone to a homeless shelter to watch someone do community service. But there were requests. We know about that Boys to Men request that she made.
True?
That's true.
Now tell us about that.
Look, I wasn't there, but Meek was there. Okay,
now
Nicki Minaj was there. She asked something unusual. She said, "Could we go back into my chambers office?" Off the record, meaning no court reporters, no lawyers, no anyone. She just wanted Meek and Nicki Minaj. And they went back there because the judge asked. And what were the lawyers to do at the time? Say, no, you can't speak to our client. Obviously they were hoping that she was going to be lenient on him and whatever. So they'd go back there. And the way Meek tells us that she said to him, I think you should remake a Boys to Men song, Philly group Boys to Men. Obviously, it's a Philadelphia case, on bended knees. And you should throw a shout out in there to me, as a positive influencer to you. And Meek started laughing. I said, and she said, no, I'm serious. And he didn't know what to do. And he said, well, one, I don't do boys to men. It's not my genre exactly. And two, I don't do shout-outs in my songs to people. And she said, suit yourself. Well, that's something that is completely inappropriate for a judge to do.
Absolutely.
It's making a request of someone who you hold the keys to their freedom. And if they don't grant that request, then what happens? Well, what happened?
Like she did.
So 2 to 4 years she gave him last November for a technical violation of probation. Guys, I want to make sure you understand this. 2 to 4 years for a technical violation of probation. Not a crime. He didn't commit a crime. I mean, people in Philadelphia, you could rob banks. You don't go 2 to 4 years, okay? He sent to 2 to 4 years for popping a wheelie in New York. And you know about that case. I represented him here, and we got that case dismissed and thrown out, but it was a joke. And she sent him back for 2 to 4 years after having been on probation for 10 years.
Now, Nicki Minaj recently did an interview, and she made a statement that she met with the judge, and the judge did what was right, and this, that, and the other. So have y'all spoke to her? Because shouldn't she be able to get on the stand and say this is what the judge said?
Listen, there are 5 witnesses who were there when Meek and Nicki came out of chambers, and they immediately huddled up and, they told the story. Both of them told the story to these 5 witnesses about what happened. Nicki right now is in a different spot with Meek, as you all know. I mean, I don't think it's been a well-kept secret, right? So, her motivations and her agendas right now are really not of my concern. If need to be proven, we can prove, obviously, anything we say.
Now, why can't this judge get removed from the case? I know that was the effort that you were making.
And we're still making it. I mean, more than ever now, it's clear she has. Look, she hired a lawyer. Man, the judge hired a criminal lawyer because the FBI was looking into her, okay, based on this conduct. She hired a criminal lawyer to threaten us, and me in particular, that she was going to sue for defamation. To which I have said, come on, bring it on.
But I just don't understand why there's nothing in place that can say, okay, this judge has her own biases. There's questions about this. I feel like that's what should happen, and let's bring in.
I mean, imagine a judge having a lawyer against the defendant and his legal team and threatening lawsuits against them, and she's still the judge overseeing the case.
Which
I mean,
crazy.
It's so ridiculous. You don't have to be a lawyer or go to law school to understand. Like you guys are picking up on, it's a pure conflict. It's exactly what can happen.
But why is it happening? Is there nobody over her that
can
get her off?
I don't
Even
understand how the
governor.
system works. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Good.
why
So
can't
that makes
over her?
That makes 3 of us, right? We're all in the same boat because none of us understand it. I mean, you're in a situation where yes, there's appellate courts, there's a Superior Court, there's the Supreme Court, and we're moving to all of them. We're seeking relief from everyone and anyone. So it's clear she doesn't belong in this case. I mean, imagine this. She now knows the FBI had investigated her based on a complaint that was made by Meek's legal team. And the FBI took steps to investigate her. How could she sit in judgment of that guy who caused the FBI to look into her? How could she sit in judgment of someone who she hired a lawyer to threaten? How could she sit in judgment fairly and impartially? It's a joke that she's still literally sitting on this case, but she is. But again, let's go back to yesterday and see what happened. You now have both parties agreeing that Meek's conviction should be tossed,
right?
Okay, because of constitutional violations. This evidence was known back in 2005 to the former district attorney who prosecuted the case, Seth Williams, who's now in federal prison for corruption, and it was never turned over. Meek's case was in 2008. Now, normally in like the world I live in courts,
right,
a hearing is required when 2 sides, the prosecutor and defense in this case, disagree, and the court is needed to settle the dispute. That's why you have a hearing.
Correct. There's no disagreement here.
Here, there's no disagreement, and therefore there's no need for a hearing. But so instead of yesterday saying, okay, I grant, if you agreed, prosecutor, I grant your motion, case is set aside, new trial, if they're ever going to bring a new trial, he's released on bail. What she said yesterday was, yeah, well, we're going to have a hearing in 2 months. Thank you.
She's basically a dictator. Basically said, I don't give a fuck what y'all saying. This is my court, and this is what I want to do. That is crazy.
Correct. And wait, and then how about this? So we then say, okay, you want to put a hearing for 60 days from now, even though there's no need for a hearing? Do what you want to do, but hear us on bail. Obviously, there's a major change in circumstances. The district attorney is now saying we are going to move and join in the motion to have this case overturned. Okay, let him out on bail now.
And he's clearly
let him out
not
on bail
fleeing
because
anywhere.
she said at one point he was a flight risk. I mean, where's
Where's
Meek
he
Mill
gonna go?
Right. Exactly. And what happens is we say, all right, let him out on bail at least. The inevitable is happening. I mean, the case is going to be overturned, right? Without question.
Right.
You have a corrupt cop. You know, if I were this judge or any judge, I would be furious that a law enforcement officer came into my courtroom, took an oath to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
And lied. Not only against Meek, but against 80 other people that are known who are going to have their hearings on Friday.
And how dare you take these people's lives from them and take them from their families for all this time?
Lying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lying and making up facts.
Mm-hmm.
If I were the judge, I'd be furious about that. Instead, she's saying, well, we'll see. We'll have a hearing. We'll see if there's really a reason to overturn his conviction. But the prosecutor just said there is also.
Right. And the governor is even
it's not just the prosecutor, it's the governor. It's the mayor. It's senators. I've never seen in my life anything like this. I've never had a governor. I'm a defense attorney. I've never had a governor back my client up in a criminal
pardon
case.
Him? That's not you can't
There's a
pardon
process.
somebody?
Yeah, sure. The governor can do that. There's a process. It happens twice a year, June and December. I mean, if he's still in there in June and December, I mean, I'm going to lose my mind. I mean, we've just really have had. I mean, this is, and he's been so good about being, positive and optimistic and understand he's in there for a greater good. I mean,
you know what? And the bigger issue now for people is the whole process of being on probation for as long as they put young people on probation, young black men knowing that at some point you're going to have some type of interaction with the cops.
And that's all you need. Understand that.
It's not even a charge. It's not even getting arrested. It's just an interaction.
You got it. You just said it. Yep.
I'm confused because, this is the hard thing because they always say, hey, when you go to school, you want to represent your community. She's black. She's from the community. So she should understand the pitfalls. But it seems like this vendetta, she just wants revenge. Now, you said the FBI is investigating her. How long does that take? Like, while she's being investigated, she shouldn't be able to be on the stand.
Right.
And
obviously, DJ, I mean, there's only so much I can say about the FBI investigation and what's going on or what has happened in the past. The current status of that is quite frankly not known to me. At this point, they don't check in with us.
Okay.
But I'm telling you factually what happened and that there was interaction with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in this case, and they took proactive steps, I will tell you that, which is a massive statement. I mean, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney don't get involved in an investigation of a sitting judge unless they think there's something wrong. Now, putting that aside, let me tell you one other fact. There are 80 other cases that this cop Graham has caused people to have motions for post-conviction relief. Mm-hmm. All 80 other cases are being heard by the chief judge, Skipper Woods, on Friday, like in 2 days from now, 3 days from now. Meek's the only one
that's in June
who's staying before Judge Brinkley, and the hearing's in June.
Wow.
I mean,
what is going on? And I would think in my head, okay, this could potentially end up being a lawsuit at some point.
Yeah, it certainly could end up being a lawsuit at some point, but honestly, that's the furthest thing from our mind right now.
But not even in your mind. I'm talking about on their end. Like, this could be snowballing to something even bigger for the whole entire justice system.
And that's what we want. Look, this new district attorney, Krasner, is he's got courage. He's a different sort of prosecutor because he doesn't come from the government cloth, so to speak. He was a civil rights lawyer. Mm-hmm. He did a lot of cases against these cops. Mm-hmm. And he came in and did something very courageous yesterday by being honest and agreeing and stepping up saying, yeah, you know what? And they agree to bail, by the way. They agree to bail, and they agree that his conviction should be overturned. And she wouldn't even hear us on bail yesterday. I mean, if you want to even pretend that you're being judicial and fair, you grant bail, or you at least hear us on bail. I mean, the prosecutor's saying, yes, he should have bail. We're going to have the case thrown out. We agree that the conviction should be overturned. The defense is asking for bail. She said, no, we're not doing bail today. I don't want to hear about bail. See you on June 18th.
So wait, is there any truth that she wanted her friend to manage him as well? Was that true?
Yeah, well, this whole thing with this guy, Charlie Mack, I mean, there's been way too many connections between her and Charlie Mack. And she handpicked the probation officer in this case, this probation officer named Underwood. Underwood was great friends with Charlie Mack. She handpicked this probation officer, and time and again, about 15 times on the record over the years, the probation officer kept saying, you should go back to Charlie Mack, leave Rock Nation. I mean, Rock Nation is one of the, obviously premier management companies in this genre and entertainment. And the probation officer kept saying, it's the judge's desire and leave Rock Nation and go back to Charlie Mack. He was good and he was great. And he was well, that's not the case, first of all. Meek left him for a reason. But, again, you shouldn't have a situation where the judge, her handpicked probation officer, the district attorney, anyone, is influencing or trying to influence his career decisions. And what if he doesn't do it, which he didn't?
Right.
You know, what happens? Is there repercussions? Because this probation officer actually got removed from the case because I went to the probation officer's chief and I explained what happened. I have a record of what's going on. And there were recorded phone calls that were sent to us by people who were recording calls with this probation officer that were outrageous.
Who oversees the judge, though? Like, there's an overseer for everything. Who oversees that judge?
Well, there's different forums. Obviously, there's judicial committees, and that's one thing. There is certainly, you have the appellate courts, you know, the Superior Court and then the Supreme Court. And we're there.
And you guys are going to the Supreme Court.
We're there. We're already there. We're waiting on them at this point. I, would be hopeful that they would be a little more expeditious, a little quicker in their decisions here, because you have a guy who's sitting in jail who doesn't belong in jail.
It just seems crazy that the mayor, the governor can come and visit and say they support, but the man is still in jail. Like, that just seems crazy.
Yeah, it's the first for me.
Like, it's like they have no power. It's you're the governor, you're the mayor, but you can't get the young man out over a judge? That's crazy.
Yeah, well, the judicial system has to be independent, and I understand that part of it, right? We don't want politicians deciding who's guilty, not guilty, who's in jail and who's not. But when you have a governor taking a stance that there's obviously, this is affecting the community. Right. I mean, I got to tell you, when I'm in Philly, I see that community rally around this. And what Meek said to me yesterday which really is amazing. It shows you who he is that, Joe, if I did this time and it helps fix this system and shines a light on the deficiencies and the problems with our system, including the probation, issues. I mean, the numbers are daunting. I mean, the numbers are daunting. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of young men, mostly minorities, who are in Pennsylvania prisons for technical violations of probation, not crimes.
Right.
I mean, more than half.
Another thing I was thinking of, and I was actually going to call Kuhn today, and then when I heard you was coming up, I was like, I'll ask you. As far as financially, are you guys pro bono? Because this case can cost a lot of money, and Meek's not he's not on the road, he's not doing shows, he's not recording albums. I was going to be like, how can we help financially as far as that? Because he has a team of lawyers.
He's got a team of lawyers, but he's got some great people behind him. He's got Rock
Jay-Z,
Nation.
yeah.
He's got Jay, he's got Rock Nation, he's got Mike Rubin. Mike Rubin is like, Mike's one of the owners of the 76ers.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, Mike's one of Meek's best friends, and he's a guy who, obviously he's he's on the Forbes list. Okay, so Mike's got some cash. Actually, if you have $100, we'll start a legal defense fund right now. Starting with DJ Envy, who's just pledged $200. You can just give that to Didier. Give that to Didier at the door.
On the Forbes, they don't need my little $100.
Go fund me.
Sorry, Meek, I was going to help, but they said you got it, Meek.
But no, it's he's got some great people. Look, a lot of us aren't doing this for the money either. I mean, I charge a fraction of what I would normally charge in a case like this because this is so much more than a case for me. It really is. Right. This is about someone who I care about. I mean, I love him, and what's happened to him makes me furious. I mean, as someone who cares about the system, it makes me furious to see it being abused the way it's being abused.
And I saw Meek did an interview from jail as well over the phone.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. I just wasn't sure I was a little nervous. I was like, is he supposed to be?
Yeah, I didn't know that either, quite frankly. But obviously, it was arranged through the powers to be, and I guess he got special permission. So
I'm glad he did it.
Yeah.
Now, how could the people help? Because that's what everybody wants to know. How can we help? Should we write letters? Should we come to marches?
Clearly,
how can we help
matter.
to support Meek, if any way?
It's funny. So far it hasn't mattered, but it does matter because that support, keeping the voices loud and keeping people out there. Yeah, whenever there's marches like there were yesterday outside that courthouse, there was a rally. I mean, it was very impressive in the pouring rain there. There was a lot of people. When there was an event at UPenn that I brought Reverend Sharpton to. Reverend Sharpton came with me for that and, obviously brought his power. Brian Stevenson was there. I mean, you had some civil rights giants at UPenn to talk about not only Meek's case, but the issues surrounding the deficiencies in the criminal justice system. People can help by keeping this on the forefront.
That's right. We talk about it. We've been following the case very closely up here on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
so
I know you guys
we
have.
make sure that we report everything that happens, and especially when the information came out about the police officer. It's
just amazing. I mean, understand, without that in the equation, you have a judge that gave him 2 to 4 years for a technical violation on probation after he was on probation for 10 years. And here's what's important about that. Both the district attorney and the probation officer at that hearing in November both said he shouldn't get any jail time. These are technical violations of probation. He's been a model probationer. He's been exemplary. He's making progress. District attorney actually said he's exactly sort of what you want in a probationer, someone who's getting better, rehabilitating. And she just ripped them apart like they were defense lawyers.
Right.
And she gave him 2 to 4 years, despite the fact that both DA and probation requested no jail time. Again, that was another first for me. I mean, this case has been full of firsts in my career.
But this is eye-opening, too, is I saw the shift in when he first went back to jail. Some people were saying, oh, well, he violated probation, and that's what happens. You don't get special treatment because you're a celebrity.
Right.
But then now you hear all the intricacies of what it really is. It's just a technical violation.
It was a technical violation.
He didn't get arrested.
He popped a wheelie during a rap video with 8 other people, okay, in Washington Heights at about 2 in the morning. There was no one on the streets. Mm-hmm. He popped a wheelie. And on that video, you see a big police van that they passed. They passed, the big police van. The police didn't arrest him. Right. They didn't do anything. No, the next day, someone in One Police Plaza, the headquarters of the New York City Police Department, was watching that video and said, I think we should go arrest him. I mean, imagine, with all the problems we have in this city, somebody at One Police Plaza, a higher-ranking officer in the New York City Police Department, a chief or someone, was studying the Meek Mill Papa Wheelie video. And then they sent 22 cops to arrest him when he was at the basketball.
The other basketball game.
Yeah, Dykeman, I think it was. Dykeman, yeah. And at the basketball tournament, all these kids where he was there signing, autographs, doing pictures. And he's walking out and he sees like the squadron of cops coming at him. And all these kids around him. And he's thinking, okay, they're here to help me out. And he's like, no, I'm okay. These guys are cool. I'm just taking pictures. And they're like, get in the car. And he didn't know what was going on. They arrested him a day later for popping a wheelie.
That's crazy.
And then they tried to charge him with a felony to keep him in jail overnight. I mean, it was really, the district attorney did the right thing in that case and dismissed it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he went through that, and that triggered the violation of probation. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's when you get arrested, you don't have to be convicted, you don't have to have anything. You just get, But now the only one who wanted a hearing for the violation of probation was Judge Brinkley. The probation officer didn't ask for a hearing. Okay, and then she put him in for 2 to 4.
Is there something deeper? Because I really can't see this. Like, it has to be something deeper relationship between Judge Brinkley and Meek Mill. There's nothing else. That's just.
I've called it an unhealthy obsession. I mean, when a judge shows up,
that's what
when a judge shows up at a homeless shelter, and she was on sick leave, by the way, when she showed up at the homeless shelter. She wasn't even working. She showed up at the homeless shelter and talked to him about how he was doing his community service. Mm-hmm. The Charlie Mack thing, the manager thing with this Trace Underwood. And look, the words don't have to come out of the judge's mouth. The handpicked probation officer said on the record many times, this is the judge's desires. And and the judge is sitting right there. Didn't say, no, what are you talking about? It's my desire. It's not my desire. Mm-hmm. So the handpicked probation officer is pushing Charlie Mack. The court clerk in Judge Brinkley's courtroom came up to Meek and handed him a note and said, could you pay for my son's college tuition?
I remember that.
I mean,
we talked
about that. It's like the Twilight Zone of courts. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. But, yesterday she had a chance to sort of make this right.
Right.
Okay? Look, we have real problems with the way she's handled this case and how she's acted towards Meek and some of the things she's done. But yesterday she had a chance to make it right. You have a corrupt cop who's defecated on this system, okay? Who's handed out, the worst form of justice, corruption. And she had a chance, when the district attorney agreed that this case has to be overturned, she had a chance to say, okay, fine, I'm furious this happened in my courtroom. I consent, I agree with the moving papers. The district attorney agrees. Case is overturned. We grant PCRA relief and let him out on bail. But she just locked in, and to me it shows a level of bias and unreasonableness that you can't even argue against anymore. Right. You can't even argue. You can't even defend it.
Jeez. And what this really brings to light is there's so many people out there that won't have the opportunity to have a high-powered lawyer like yourself, to have the attention, to have the money, the finances, and they get caught up in the system.
Correct.
And no one knows about it.
And that's something, I'm telling you, that's something that Meek keeps talking about. And it's and he said it time and again about making sure this shines a light on the voiceless, because there are a lot of people who get swallowed up by the system and can't fight back like this.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you joining us, man. Definitely, send Meek our love. And
yes, Meek is in our prayers.
Our
and
support.
We've been definitely making sure that we keep our eye on everything that's happening and are very vocal about it as well.
Well, thank you guys.
Send our love to his family and all that. And,
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you want to say before you get up out of here?
No, I mean, you guys have, obviously, keeping this in the forefront is important. Even when he gets out, we got to make sure this doesn't go back to where it was, right?
Absolutely.
So that's something we need to do. And no, that's it. I mean, you guys have been great. The questions were great, and hopefully this has an impact.
Free Meek Mill. All right, well, we appreciate you for joining us, Joseph.
Thanks, guys.
Taco Pino.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks, DJ.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.